Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to manipulate text in Blender. I'm going to put text onto the faces of a cube to make a die. Okay, I want the dice to be different colour from the font on it, so I'm going to colour the dice first of all. Should try and name your materials. So I'm going to call that dice. I'm going to make this a pale yellow, somewhere down there. Maybe push the intensity up. That's the colour of my dice. Okay, add text, and that adds a text object. I don't need the cube for a while, so I'm going to hide the cube. Now, in the properties window, if you click the object button, you get the general properties for all objects. All objects have location, rotation and scale. Further down you'll find object data, and these are the properties for the specific type of object, in this case text. Now here it's a bit like a material. You can apply a font style to a range of text objects. So if I call this text dice, it's a font style for dice. Okay, now my object in the outliner, you'll see there's the text object there. Now if I rename it, this is going to be number 1. Okay, now both those operations, they haven't changed the actual text. How do you change the actual text? Okay, don't look round in here. The trick is you have to go into edit mode. As soon as you go into edit mode, you get a cursor and you can edit your text. Okay, that's the number 1. Now back into object mode. This is the Blender default font. It's a simple called a sans serif font. It hasn't got shaped end. If it had shaped ends, it would be a serif font. Sans serif means without serifs. But I want a serif font, so I want a different font style, font face. So where do you find that? Well, if you click here, you just see the Blender default font. To add fonts, it depends on the system you're on. I'm running this at the moment on a Windows XP system. It's installed on drive C, so I've got a Windows drive, and you go into the Windows drive and there's a fonts directory. In here I'm looking for Times Roman, and there's a Times Roman bold, a Times Roman bold italic. I'm going to go for just Times Roman bold. Okay, and I've got my serifs at the end. So that's one property. I've now got the 2 fonts in there, but they do disappear and you have to go and get them again. Right, what other property can I change? Now I could scale that, but there is a size property, and that will be stored in that text style. So any other text it's applied to will be that size. I'm changing that to 2.5. I want to change the color of it, so I'm coming in here, adding a new material. Let's call it dice font color, and I'm going to make that red. That'll do. Okay, I'm just going to put text on 3 faces of the dice, so I'm going to duplicate this twice. So I'm going to, with it selected, press Shift D and enter, and Shift D and enter, and I have now got 3 text objects. I'm going to select this and name it num2. I'm going to select this one and name it num3. I don't know whether this is the quickest way of doing it, but it's one way of doing it. I have actually got now 3 fonts. Now I'm going to place 3 text objects. I'm going to place one of them on the cube, so I need the cube back. Okay, it's just a matter now, first of all, of getting the location right. Looking down on top, from the top view, looking at the X and Y here, it's the Z I have to alter. So with num1 selected, I need to go to the Z value, and if I make that 1, what happens? Okay, now the text has no thickness unless you extrude it, which you do. Go to font, and somewhere in there is extrude, which yeah, there you can extrude it to give it thickness, but at the moment that text object has no thickness, and the face of the cube has no thickness. If I press F12 to render that, the face of the cube and the number are occupying the same space, so it's unpredictable how it's going to render. So if I press F11 to return, I just want to move the text object just a little bit further up. So I come to here and I need to go to the Z option. If I click the arrow, it'll just nudge it forward. Now if I press F12, it's slightly in front of the cube now. F11 to go back. I can stick another 0 there. I don't want it to stick up too much. Really just like painting the number onto the dice, just a wafer thin amount. Put a 0 in there, it's still in front. Okay, and G to grab, and that's the 1 on the 1 face there. Now I want the number 2, and I want to put it on this face here. So first of all, we're looking down. I need to rotate it about the X here 90 degrees. So rotate X 90, and now I need, looking here, Z and X, it's the Y that's coming out. So location Y, if I put that to 1. Now looking at the right, that's gone right to the back, so I don't need 1, I need -1, and I need to nudge it this time even a little bit more minus. If you want to be fussy, put a 0 in there. This says 1, I want it to say 2, so I have to go into edit mode, delete, press 2, press enter, not enter, just back into object mode. G to grab, and we've got 2 on there. Finally, our number 3 I want to put here. I want to rotate it about the y-axis. Let's try it. 90 degrees. And there it is. I could rotate it 90 degrees about the x-axis as well, but on a dice you don't have everything. It's impossible to have everything always the right way up. so I'm going to leave it where it is. Okay, looking at the Z and Y, it's the X to bring it forward, so I go to the X and type in 1. Nudge it, be fussy, put another 0 in, just so it's just very slightly in front of the cube. G to grab. Okay, I should have really changed the font first. Go into edit mode, delete 3, back into object mode. I probably need to grab it now just to place it nicely. Okay, the main problem at the moment now is if I move the cube, the text is separate objects, so they won't move with the cube. If I'm happy with everything, what I will do is sort of the equivalent of flattening a graphics image. I'm going to turn the text into a mesh and join it to the cube. So convert to mesh, and that number 1 is now a mesh. You can see not an F but a mesh symbol here. Okay, you select num2 object, convert to mesh, convert to mesh. Now hold down shift and select everything and the cube and click join. I have one object which I should name a dice. And I can grab that and it's a dice. Okay, that's the end of the demonstration. I'll put the unflattened version of the file on my website freemovies.co.uk, the Blender channel there. Thanks for listening. Bye now.